And I'm here to explain about the On Trial series, the second episode, which is scheduled on 20th November, Friday, this Friday. I'm here to explain as to how this whole On Trial series works and what can you expect from this second episode of the On Trial series. And you know, the whole purpose, if you have gone through our Insta post, is to explain three things as to motive. What's the motive behind having this Rang De Basanti for the second episode? What's the intention? And then how we are going to achieve that intention, right? What's the Actus Reus, the plan, the format? What's the format that we're going to, we are going to follow to achieve that intention, that motive. Now, to differentiate just these two words, motive and intention, is that often we get confused between these two words, how these two words are related, in some way, have some connection with each other, or like are the two completely distinct, concepts. So just to explain this, this whole on trial series is that you could say that motive is something which sets your journey. So if you plan to begin a journey, motive is something which defines, okay, now you are actually going to pursue this journey. That's your motive. Intention is how how you set your end goal. So the destination is your intention. Okay, you intend to do this thing, and now there's a big gap between the motive and intention. Now to fill this gap, you bring in Actus Reus, right? Your format of your plan of the your plan of the of a criminal act, if you're talking about offense. Uh, so our motive behind having this Rang De Basanti movie for the second on trial series work is that it lies within 124A of IPC. Now, before I start with the on trial series, how it works, in on trial series, that we charge fictional characters from movies, books, or TV series with criminal offenses. So in the first episode, we had charged Dr. Viru Sahasrabuddhe from the Three Idiots, and we had charged him that we have alleged that he abetted the suicide attempt of Raju Rastogi from the Three Idiot movie. Now, in the second episode, we are charging DJ and his friends from the Rang De Basanti movie that they committed two murders actually, and there's a charge of murder, there's a charge of criminal conspiracy, then there's a charge of terrorist act, which is 15 of UAPA, right? So, and there's also charge of sedition, 124A of IPC. So the whole motive behind having this particular film is that in recent years, especially if you go back and check few years, last 2 years record, is that there have been too many criminal cases filed against even scholars, journalists, and those very respected members of society without any criminal case being against them. And why I say this is that because they have not started any trial against them. There's no trial, there's no charge against them, but they're just being kept behind bars because they have been charged under UAPA, and in some cases they have also been charged under 124A of IPC. So you could see that that's too much focus around this, especially UAPA, because that's something that the government has been using it for whatever they plan to do. Like if there's anything against the government, they just go back and take the plug card, UAPA plug card, and that's done, right? So that's not how you were supposed. That's not how it is supposed to be done, right? And in very layman language, you could say that what is this nonsense? If you move to a slightly more legal language, you would say that, sir, this is very problematic, right? So that's the motive behind, is that we need to discuss these things, because if we don't discuss, these are left behind, and we don't ponder upon them, like why exactly these offenses, right? And how easy it is for the government to take defense behind behind these offenses. And but that explains our motive, right? That the motive is not enough for anyone to go further and execute whatever they plan to do, right? So there has to be an intention behind it, what we intend to do from this from this episode of on trial series. And that is something that we intend to do, is like to there has to be a debate as to how these two, right, especially I'm talking about 124A and the whole UAPA Act. Actually, in this episode we are just focusing on 15 of UAPA, how these two offenses have to be redefined, because in a way that the government does not have an absolute power as to they can do whatever they want to do. So there has to be some limitations, right? So there has to be some I think we had put a quiz last night, and there was one question that whether 124A has should be narrowed down, and I think more than 90% of the answers were yes, they have, it has to be narrowed down, right? So I think on that term, most of us, like even those who who talk, who was mostly pro government, agree for the fact that 124 has to be curtailed down, right? But to what extent do one thing that should be that we could discuss here is that when exactly the term government comes into picture, like there's government, like yeah, government established by law. So to what extent do you take that the government comes into picture, that okay, now you are actually going against the government and you're not just criticizing the policies of the government, right? So that has to be taken into picture. With regard to UAPA, the main problem being is that we don't have any, not just at domestic level, but also at a global level, we don't have anything concrete to define terrorism. So there have been very different definition meanings given to the term terrorism, but we don't have anything concrete to define what exactly what exactly it means, right? So there are few comments that I try to explain a few things in Hindi as well, if that works for you. Is that we don't have any concrete definition as to how the word terrorism को define कैसे किया गया है, वो बहुत ही concrete नहीं है, okay, वो बहुत ही ठोस नहीं है, right? So we need a concrete definition per se before we jump and say that okay, this is a terrorist act. Because had UAP has, if let's say that if you go back to the old UAP Act and now look at their act, the DJ and his friends, whatever that they did, the only thing you could, at only point you could bring government is that they killed the defense minister, right? But was it actually something against the government, but rather mostly against against him, like him as a person, like, right? There was a charge. They alleged that he committed corruption and he was involved in corruption, right? So that also has to be taken into consideration. I won't go into details. We have two teams to work on these things. That we have a team for prosecution and we have a team for defense. We have a 5 members team for prosecution. We have names Samriddhi, Ishani and Tejaswini from the criminal review team. They are in the prosecution team. We have 2 interns with us for the prosecution seat, Zanvi and Ishan. And then for the defense, we have again 5 members. Hartima, Hunar and Pratyusha are from the criminal review team, and then we have Kanishka and Himani from the interns. So this team will be there on 20th November to put a trial, and they'll try their best to defend their side, right? To portray why their side stories should be taken into consideration. And just to give a slightly just to go through like what exactly the defense and the prosecution will be looking for is that when in a normal criminal trial, how the prosecution aim for is that they try to get maximum punishment and as many charges as they could. So if there's a possibility of charging the accused for let's say 5 or 6 offenses, they will try their best to get for as many offenses as possible, and then I'm sorry, yeah, and then they try to get that maximum punishment for those offenses. However, if you look at the defense side, their job is to show that there's a parallel story and not just one single, some single story. So there's a parallel event which also could also be possible. So they just try to deviate the code from the story created by the prosecution. So it's going to be slightly difficult when we meet at when we meet on 20th November at 5 p.m. We have Ishan from the prosecution team, and he would like to share a few things with you, like how his experience with the research so far, and what can you expect from his side, on 20th November. I am now adding.
A few seconds, that should be it. In the meanwhile, if you have any question with respect to how this on-trial series works, and if you feel that I did not actually explain it in a better way, feel free to drop any question. I'll be happy to answer any question that you might have.
Hello. So as Ashwani said, I will be speaking for the prosecution side, and I'm just going to talk a little bit.
Ishan, I think you are not audible. Could you try to
sure.
work this out? You are not audible clearly.
Ashwani, am I audible now?
Is it work? It's better now, I think.
Okay. So as Ashwani said, I will be speaking for the prosecution side. And today I'm just going to share a little bit about my experience working with this whole concept of the on-trial series, which is a very innovative concept. I mean, since the facts of the case are well known to everybody, since it's such a popular movie, it's a very interesting way to convey the courtroom setting, how a trial actually happens, to a broad range of people. So when I first got to know that I'll be working on this from the prosecution side, I felt much like Schultz from Chicago 7, because I understand that public opinion is very much in favor of Daljeet Singh and all. So the first task that I tried to do was to split morality from the law. So I tried to sort of narrow down the discussion to the legal aspects, that is the charges, that is criminal conspiracy, murder, UAPA, as Ashwani has mentioned, sedition. And while researching, it's different from a conventional research project or a moot court, because it's not only that the IPC, the Evidence Act, that we have to go through thoroughly and comprehensively, but it's also the application of these laws to the movie, to the facts of the movie. And since the audience would have watched the movie, we cannot actually rely on the entire movie. What we'll be relying on is the annexure, that is the witness statements. So again, the ending is all different from the actual movie. The students in this have peacefully surrendered and are arrested, and therefore the trial. So I feel that's a very interesting concept in which we get to present what a courtroom setting looks like to a broad range of audience. So I think
thank you, Ishan. Thank you for your thank you, Ishan. Thanks for your inputs, and thank you for joining. And I don't think that the audience has any questions, because I just go through the comments. Yeah, I don't think there's any question from the audience side. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach us at crlreview@gmail.com, or you can also contact us on WhatsApp, or just call at 7434045410. And obviously our social media pages are also open to contact, and we're happy to answer any doubt, anything that you guys you might have. And if you are, I'll also request you to go and register for the on-trial series. You'll find the link in the bio. And to register, we'll see you at the trial on 28th November. And I'm pretty sure the team has put some really good effort for the trial, and we'll see you on the 20th November at 5 p.m. Do register. It's going to be good and fantastic. We'll try to cover as many topics as possible. And I'll just go through my notes if I've missed anything. I don't think I have. We have covered everything about the on-trial series. We'll see you after the second episode with just to get whatever feedback that you might have to share with us. And yeah, that's all. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your time. Bye bye.